In the spirit of Halloween, paranormal or not, what is the scariest, creepiest or most unsettling experience of your life? At my college orientation we stayed for a night in a dorm on campus. My friend and I got a room together and it was connected by a bathroom to the room next to us. We didn't go to bed till about 1 AM and we checked the room next to us and no one had come in, so we figured no one was gonna stay there. I woke up later around 3 AM to someone tapping me on the chest. It was just a shadow, and since I woke up from sleep I couldn't really make out a face but thought it was my friend. John? John? You okay? No answer. He kept tapping my chest. I thought it was John sleepwalking. John? Wake up. He started to walk away from me toward the bathroom. John? Where are you going? John? About that time, I heard a voice from the other bed in the room. What? I'm sleeping. It was John in the other bed. The shadow walked into the bathroom. I freaked out, got up and went to the bathroom and opened the door. The light was off and no one was in there. I opened the door to the other room and no one was in there either. John and I just sat in our beds for like an hour before we could fall asleep again. That dorm was knocked down less than a year later. Creepy way to start off my college career. Non-paranormal but still one of the most frightening experiences of my life. I had the pleasure of growing up in Lake Tahoe and spent my childhood running around forests, playing in rivers, and generally bouncing around one of the most beautiful places on the West Coast. Needless to say, I don't remember many birthday parties as a child that were inside if the weather was good outside. I was around 11 and was at a close friend's birthday party on the lake. Parents were barbecuing and kids were running around being insane, you know, like 10 and 11-year-olds are wont to do. I was really close with the kid whose birthday it was, and as such I got to sleep in this kid's massive tent. We're bunking down for the night and there are probably 7 or 8 kids in this family-sized tent camped on the beach among a sea of other tents. We're telling ghost stories and generally trying to freak each other out. I don't remember falling asleep, only waking up what was probably 2 or 3 in the morning. The moon was full and out in space. I wasn't quite sure what woke me up right away, but I quick learned. As I'm laying there staring up at the tent ceiling trying to fall back asleep, I hear it. A low sort of sniff grunt. This I see it. A shadow slowly starts creeping from one corner of the tent, a bit skewed at first but it takes shape fast. My 11-year-old insides turned to mush as the shadow took form of a bear's head and then body. His massive nose pushing on the tent, the grunt and huff as he investigated the tent. I didn't know what to do. I stopped breathing, pulled my sleeping bag slowly over my head and prayed to whatever god my little mind could comprehend. I've never been so afraid, and it took every bit of my willpower to close my eyes and not scream. All I knew was that screaming and startling a massive bear in a camp full of little kids and parents was probably not the right move. I'm not quite sure what happened after that. I don't remember much until morning. I never told anyone that we were inches from becoming a bear meal. I still love camping. But anytime I'm sitting in my tent and the moon is lighting it up, that memory makes it way back and I can feel the slight pang of fear I felt that night. To this day, I don't think my sphincter has ever been tested as much as that night. When I was younger, me and my twin sister were playing in the basement of our house. We had gone to the main landing area and there was a tall man in dark clothing with a large dog by his side. We had asked him what he was doing and he said he was here to see our father. We both ran upstairs to tell my dad. When we went back downstairs, the man had already disappeared. There is no way out of the basement except on the staircase we had gone up. Me and my sister both remember this. Around 10 years ago, my parents had gone on a trip, leaving my 2 brothers and me home alone. The first night they were gone, we were all downstairs in the basement doing something and it was fairly late. Suddenly, I thought I heard something come from upstairs. It sounded like our front door opening and closing and then footsteps going around the main floor. I turned to my eldest brother and we looked at each other with confused expressions. I asked him if he heard that as well and he said yes. This is when we both started getting a little concerned. My brother went to the bottom of the basement stairs and called up to see if maybe our parents had come back for something, but there was no answer. So he went to the room in the basement where our dad kept all his tools and grabbed the hatchet, then went to the bottom of the stairs and waited. We both waited, trying to hear any other noises, but there was nothing. After a while, he went upstairs, quietly, to check and see if someone had broken in, but there was nothing and no one. We still remember it to this day. It was the creepiest experience ever in our house, and it wasn't the last time we heard footsteps above us in that house when there was no one home. I started hallucinating after 96 hours of no sleep. Stress-induced insomnia fucks you up. Sat in my room, on my bed. So tired. I could not sleep. Could not think. My head was in a very weak place. So I just sat and watched. Things started flying out of the walls. Chairs, knives, toasters, seaweed, arms and all sorts of random things just floated out of one wall and into the other. The whole room seemed to be running, like liquid. The walls rippled like a disturbed lake. Then a girl walked out of one wall. This girl was your typical horror movie girl. Dark hair, pale skin and a white dress. The usual. But she was not scary. She was, I just knew that Say was friendly. She just walked slowly to me and sat beside me. It felt calming. Then everything stopped. I must have fallen asleep. But I was awake. It felt like waking up. I could move again. I looked around, the walls were solid and nothing out of the ordinary. I looked to my left and saw myself laying on my side asleep. And then the fear set in. She sat to my right and I was looking to my left, at myself. I looked behind me and there she was. Still just sitting, but now she looked at me. Staring with a slight smile that made my skin crawl. Everything was darker now and she reached out and put her palm on my chest. Then she just withered away in front of my eyes. Stupid smile on her face. I was left there feeling like something had gotten into me. I felt cold. Like my skin was frozen, and the cold was coming from my heart. And the only thing I could do was cut it out. So I grabbed my box cutter and cut. I woke up standing in the middle of my room, a big bleeding gash in my chest and scratch marks all over my hands and shoulders. Had to drive myself to the hospital. And now I have this stupid scar on my chest. It's not that noticeable because the cut was pretty clean and straight. The nurse at the hospital used some glue so it would not scar as bad. One of the worst nights of my life. Edit, 4 days is 96 hours not 72. And I am bad at math and spelling. Didn't happen to me, but my grandmother told me this story until her last days. It felt so good that she could tell us this story when she could barely remember some obvious things. They had a neighbor that my grandmother didn't like, but her husband liked him. He was always at their place. Like every day for hours and hours. Every time he came by, he rang the doorbell twice. So one night at around 2 a.m., the doorbell rang twice. My grandparents woke up confused, opened the front door without anyone to show up. It was a bit snowy that night and they could not see any footprints. The day after, they heard that he died at around 2 a.m., which is when they woke up during the night. When I was 10 years old, I went on a trip with my class to our teacher's summer house. She had put up a plastic skull on a tree a little bit into a forest for a treasure hunt. Me and 2 of my friends went to the skull to bow down to it, because we were bored kids. After we had bowed 3 times, all of us could hear a laugh. We all screamed and ran out of there. When we came out of the forest, we told our other friends. They said that it was probably a crow or something. I also believed that at the time because it sounded logical. But when I think back to it, I clearly remember a human male laugh, not an animal sound. I have always experienced night terrors and sleep paralysis. Scary stuff. It got worse when I moved on campus in college. One night, I woke up feeling like I was pinned to the bed, unable to move. I opened my eyes and saw a charcoal demonic face with red eyes staring at me, holding me down. At this point, everything seemed real and I fought hard to push the damned thing off me. I heard it hit the floor and run out of my bedroom. I finally was fully awake, and immediately assumed it was a night terror, paralysis combo thing, trying to shake some scare off me. Then I look at the door and it is wide open. I always slept with the door locked. To this day, I get chills thinking about it. Guy comes to our house on the night of Canada Day about 4 a.m. Out of gas, no big deal, right? We live along a major highway to Lake Territory, and this isn't the first time someone has stopped looking for gas, first one at 4 a.m. though. Dad says sure, I'll give you some gas, goes out to the tanks with him, fills up gas, and the guy is on his merry way. Well, Dad thought there was something fishy going on. He said he glanced through the window and the 3 children in the car looked like they were fake sleeping and the guy was talking odd, so he took down the license plate just in case. Then the next morning our CMP show up at our house saying an individual who turned himself in at a police station about 40 minutes away said he stopped at a farm for gas after he murdered his girlfriend and dumped her body. If I remember right, the guy tried to claim insanity. Doubt it worked if he was that calm and collected to handle the 3 kids he had in the car with him. Anyways, not scary but sort of unsettling.